Why did the world's first civilization, the one that invented writing, cities, law, kingship, and recorded history, simply vanish? Why did Sumer, the birthplace of everything that makes us human, collapse into silence, its people gone, its language erased, its memory nearly drowned beneath the sands of time? You'll hear explanations everywhere: climate change, salinized soil, warfare, invasion, bad luck, bad kings. But the deeper you dig, the stranger the truth becomes. Because Sumer didn't just fall, it forgot why it existed. And when a civilization forgets its purpose, it doesn't need an enemy to destroy it. It destroys itself. And the most unsettling part? The same forgotten clue that ended Sumer is already forming in our world again. 1. The birth of something new. 7,000 years ago, scattered farmers in the southern marshlands of Mesopotamia did something humanity had never done before. They built a society not around a tribe, not around a god, not around a king, but around an idea. That idea was simple but revolutionary. We can build something greater than ourselves. From this spark came the first cities: Uruk, Eridu, Lagash, the first bureaucracy, the first legal codes, the first written language, the first accountants, priests, merchants, engineers, and the first organized armies. Humanity stepped out of prehistory and into civilization. But the same forces that lifted Sumer into greatness would eventually tear it apart. 2. The hidden weakness of Sumer's success. To manage these new cities, Sumer invented something powerful: centralization, a system where the few plan for the many. Granaries, temples, palace records, ration lists, labor quotas, harvest expectations. Sumer didn't just create cities, it created systems and then became enslaved to them. A city was no longer a place to live. It was a machine that demanded fuel, constant labor, constant production, constant obedience. And for a time, the machine worked. Uruk exploded into the largest city on earth. Trade stretched to Syria, Turkey, Oman, Iran. Their kings declared themselves chosen intermediaries between heaven and earth. But underneath all this glory, the foundation was already cracking. 3. The land begins to die. Sumer depended on irrigation to survive. The land was fertile, almost impossibly so if water was managed perfectly. But year after year, salt built up in the soil. The earth hardened, the wheat yields dropped. Farmers switched to barley, a crop that tolerates salt. This sounds like just a farming change, but to Sumer, it was the first domino. Because a system built on wheat harvests, wheat quotas, wheat taxation, could not adapt fast enough. The machine needed more than the land could give. The fields starved, the people starved, and the system grew desperate. 4. The cities turn on each other. When resources shrink, cooperation dies. The Sumerian city-states, once proud centers of innovation, became paranoid, violent, and defensive. They built walls, massive ones. They raised armies. They began to see their neighbors not as partners in civilization, but as threats to survival. War became normal. Looting became policy. Kings glorified themselves through conquest rather than stewardship. The machine demanded fuel, and war was fuel for a time. 5. The collapse that wasn't a collapse. Most civilizations fall with a bang: an invasion, a war, a sudden destruction. Sumer was different. It didn't fall in a single moment. It simply faded. City by city, the population drained away. Fields turned white with salt. The rivers shifted. The political structure shattered. By 2000 BCE, Sumerian was no longer a spoken language. Their temples were abandoned, their kings replaced, their identity dissolved. And yet, the knowledge, systems, and institutions they created lived on through others. Sumer died, but civilization survived. 6. But there was something deeper. Historians talk about salt and climate and war. But when you read the tablets, the ones written by Sumerians in the last centuries of their civilization, you notice something chilling. They weren't worried about wars, or soil, or enemies. They were worried about themselves. The scribes write of corrupt officials, greedy kings, courts that no longer respected justice temples, that extorted the poor systems that lied on their own records, leaders who cared more about display than truth, cities that pursued greatness but forgot why one tablet reads, "The people no longer remember the purpose of the city." Another, "We have wealth, but no wisdom." Another, "The temples are great, but the gods are gone." To Sumerians, the real death wasn't physical. It was moral, cultural, and existential. They felt civilization hollowing from the inside, while everything still looked impressive on the surface. And that is the clue we still ignore. So what really destroyed Sumer? Salt, war, drought, invasion? These are symptoms, not causes. The deeper question is, why couldn't a civilization that invented everything figure out how to save itself? Sumer didn't die because enemies were strong. It died because it could no longer remember what made it worth defending. The machine of civilization got so complex, so demanding, so institutionalized that the people forgot why they had built it in the first place. Here's the unsettling pattern. When a civilization becomes too complex, when its institutions serve themselves instead of the people, when leaders pursue power instead of meaning, when society values appearance over purpose, when prosperity becomes entitlement, when tradition becomes empty ritual, when people feel spiritually and morally exhausted, collapse isn't a single event. It's a withdrawal of belief. Sumer didn't fall. Its people simply walked away. Which raises the uncomfortable question, what happens when a society stops believing in its own story? What Sumer means for us today. Walk through the ruins of Ur, Lagash, or Eridu today, and you don't see a wasted civilization. You see the bones of a dream. You see humanity's first attempt at living together on purpose, its first attempt at building meaning from the ground up. But you also see a warning carved into the stones. Civilizations don't die when they lose wars. Civilizations die when they lose themselves. And this is where Sumer becomes a mirror, because we live in a world that looks strikingly familiar, a world where systems have become more important than the people they were meant to serve, a world where institutions demand endless growth, even when the foundation is cracking, a world where technology accelerates faster than wisdom, a world where prosperity hides fragility, a world where noise overwhelms meaning, a world of rising walls, shrinking trust, and leaders who confuse spectacle with purpose. Sumer's collapse is not ancient history. It's a pattern that keeps repeating. Every great society begins with a story, a purpose people believe in so deeply that they will build cities, write laws, create art, and imagine a future. But when that story fades, the system falls into confusion, and people lose the will to maintain what their ancestors created. Sumer's final lesson is simple and terrifying. A civilization survives only as long as its people remember why it exists. Not its borders, not its buildings, not its wealth, its purpose. The final reflection. So let me leave you with the question the Sumerians were too late to ask. What is the real story our civilization is built on? And do we still believe it? Because if the answer is no, then the ruins of Sumer aren't just a past we study. They're a future we're walking toward. And the clue they left behind, the one we still ignore, is that civilizations don't die from external forces. They die when the people inside them forget who they are and what they're trying to build. If you found this story fascinating, like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel, where we explore the civilizations, ideas, and mysteries that shaped humanity.